Hey everyone, quick little announcement here from Fishing the DMV. Our club membership on Patreon is nearly full. There are only I'll repeat, four membership spots still available. Once these spots are gone, they're gone, and I'll be closing down the club membership to new members until 2026. At that point, you can try to sign up, but it'll be at a higher rate. All Patreon members will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. You'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community. You'll also be allowed to enter our 5 club membership tournaments only with guarantee payouts, members only content, ad-free, commercial-free episodes of the podcast, Patreon supporter giveaways, and so much more. And you get all of this for $6 a month, which is less than a pack of Cincos or a jackhammer chatterbait. And since we're under our 10 membership spot, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to give everyone a 10% off their membership if they sign up for the year. So that brings it down to under $65 a year, locked in indefinitely as long as you want to be a member. Hurry up because there's only so many spots left before I shut down the club to any new members until 2026.
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens. Today, we are heading back up to Pennsylvania, back up to the mighty Susquehanna River. And I have a little sticky note here, guys, because I'm going to break the meme. It's called the Juniata. And I have it all phonetically spelled, hopefully correct, but at least I can pronounce it. And I'm here with a man that pretty much makes his living on the water right now with all the kayak winnings he's had the past year. Jake Housman, sir, thank you so much for coming back on.
Hey, thanks for having me again. How you doing, man?
I love your new setup, and you deserve it, dude. I mean, you've been kicking ass with not only just fishing winnings, but social media, dude. Your Instagram is blowing up.
Right back at you, man. I heard you got on a top 100 list.
Yeah, it was crazy. So a friend of mine showed me that. I was like, by the way, was it 2 weeks ago? I was 86th place in the most listened to outdoor shows nationally for the week, which was pretty crazy to get ranked that high because it's like against hunting shows and horses and all that crap, meat eaters, BTL, Luke Duncan. So it was pretty cool to think I had that much reach, at least for that week. We're still pretty high up there though, which is humbling.
You got to imagine if you take out all the hunting, and you just talk fishing podcasts, I mean, you got to be up there in like the top 20, 25. There's not a lot, but, and I know you regionalize everything. So you got to be number one in this region, but
No, you're right there, dude. And it's hard because it's weird when they go to the Chop Tank or they go to the Potomac or the Susky and you get these big names because I don't know if I should have the pros on because I kind of like staying just local and regional. Yeah. At some point, I'm going to have to break down, and when Christine Fisher wins up here or Nolan, I need to have them on again. But I'm perfectly fine just staying in this area because there's so much water. I mean, look at the Susquehanna. I mean, I really kayaking put it on the map, but people don't appreciate that bitch is big. That is a lot of water you guys have. The Shenandoah for I don't know if you've ever fished Shenandoah before, but you have the main stem and you have the two branches, and that's about it if you were going to have a tournament because it's not a super big river compared to the Susky where you can have tournaments on sections, for God's sakes, not the whole thing, just sections. It's crazy.
And the sad part is they really screw up the sections. Like, they don't include some of the best water on the entire river. It's always too far north. Like, I live in Harrisburg, and I think the best fishing is within like 20 minutes of me, anywhere you drive, north or south. And they have all these northern tournaments. I know it has stuff to do with like the Visitors Bureau and who they can get with and the sponsorships and everything, but they're really missing out.
They are. I mean, you'd think just to have a tournament just to blow everyone's socks off when it comes to inches or slash weight, put it the best section, best time of year, just go ham. It was something I was frustrated with when Hobie 2 years ago went to the New River. Bad time of year to go down there, and it really didn't show off that place has got some dinosaur old fish in it. And it's all about the time of year and the right section.
The only thing that I would say like would be negative if they included Harrisburg in the inbound tournament boundaries is there's a Lowhead Dam, and that dam has claimed the lives of I think 33 people since they put it in. And
Holy shit.
last year a boat went over it. One guy died. One guy made it out alive. There was just an article published this week. Two kayakers. They were in inflatable kayaks. They were just casual kayakers, not fishermen or anything. They didn't know about the dam, and they went over it. And there was actually a guy below the dam fishing, and he took a video of it, so you could find it online. They went over the dam in these inflatable kayaks. I think the lady stayed afloat, and the guy flipped. And the guy was taking a video of it, and he realized, oh, these guys are about to die. So he cut his video off, and after the video ended, he zoomed over there, and I guess he had his son throw a life preserver attached to a rope into him. And you know how the Lowhead dams kind of like suck everything in. So his son threw it like right near that water that sucks it in, and they got the lady out first. And after that, they didn't see the man, but they didn't realize that he was still holding on to his kayak, which was tumbling. He had his hand on one of the handles, and I guess they got him out too, and they both came out with minor or no injuries. But that's not what would have happened if there was not a boat there.
Is this the dam below City Island?
Yes.
Trying to pull this up. Actually, what am I doing? I got freaking a computer. All right, guys. So what I'm going to do for people watching on YouTube, I'm going to show this on Google Earth because this is interesting.
Yeah, I think it's worth you showing anyone that watches your video and they dream to come to this river and they stick their kayak or boat in a spot. Like it's good to know about stuff like this because we don't want to see anyone die in that dam.
When did they put this dam in? As I get this thing up on the old Google.
I don't know. I mean, I think it was at least 50 years ago, maybe even close to 100.
All right. I am sharing my screen now. So we have, let me switch back to this map here. All right. So you have City Island here.
Yep. And it's right under that bridge, right below it to the right. The 80.
Oh, right here.
It's literally right under it.
Let me zoom in. Oh, shit. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, let me get a picture here. Come on. Pump. Oh, that didn't do jack shit. All right, never mind. I thought that would be a picture. Wow. Yeah. Right under the bridge like that. Those dams, man. I can't believe it's not marked. You don't see any marker buoys or anything, at least on Google Earth.
No, I think they put them out in May sometime. But the issue is, like, with trying to mark them, when the river comes up, like, just a buoy isn't going to do enough. You need to have like buoys every 10 yards. And when the river floods, trees come down and they would knock everything apart. So it's like, how do you actually properly mark that area? And there's big lawsuits going on right now. People want it removed, and
really,
and others don't want it removed because the reason they created it was for recreational use. Boats are now able, like deeper boats are able to use the water at City Island, and it kind of brought the economy. It brought some money to the economy when they built it a long time ago, and they just kind of stuck with it.
Well, I mean, so door number one is just blow the thing up and be done with it. Door number two, let's say, how would you improve it to keep it there, but to make it better? Would it just to be like label it better or make it taller?
I don't know how much this would cost and if it's realistic or not, but if you could get some machinery in there, and if you could dump some big boulders into the Lowhead Dam, you would remove the Lowhead Dam effect. If you could stack rocks down in the front of it that wouldn't wash away in high water, I think you could, kind of reverse that effect.
Now you wonder why it was created. Did they know about that and then chose not to because it was too expensive? Because that's where I'm thinking. Let me rephrase that, guys. I'm sorry that was a Joe Biden moment there. Do you think that they knew that they could build it a different way so it would be safer, but they chose not to because of money?
I don't know. I mean, you've seen dams before. You can create them with like a slope at the end of them and just have the water spill down, and it's completely safe.
Yeah, but it costs more is the problem.
Yeah, and Harrisburg is not a booming economy by any means.
But they had the money to put the dam in. You know what I mean? That's what's so crazy about that. Let me get you guys another one here because I got Google Earth Pro up. By the way, any fisherman should have Google Earth Pro. It is the shit. All right, here we go. 3, 2. Come on, StreamYards. 3, 2, 1. Come on. There we go. All right, so because now we can actually zoom in there and you guys can see. With the
That's
3D.
the death trap.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That is deceptive, yeah.
Some pretty good fishing around there. But I don't ever tell people to go fish that area because you enter at your own risk.
When does it get dangerous? Because you have the railroad tracks up here. Like, is it a pretty... Can you get pretty close to it without it being an issue? Or would you say stay above the train track area?
So the law is 200 feet above and 100 feet below. So if we're talking below, it's 100 feet, which is 33 yards, which is a long cast.
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine upstream, it's 2 very long casts away. I've never even gotten anywhere near that distance. I have fished those bridge pilings on that bridge just upstream, and that's the furthest down I'll go. There's no reason for you to fish that open water right above the dam. It's just not worth it.
So, guys, there you go. So, rule of thumb, if you're visiting, do not go past this thing. How deep is the water there, honestly, down near towards the dam? Like 8 feet, 10 feet?
Yeah, we're talking like 6, 7, 8 feet. It all depends on the river level, but it's the deepest point in City Island.
I mean, they should have raised it up even more and just made a damn lake and be done with it. Not this half-ass thing, but I get everyone's sentiment there. I bet there's good fishing on the bottom end though of the dam too, the tail race.
Don't give my secrets away here now.
Yeah. But will you actually get arrested? Like, I don't like. Is it we encourage you not to fish close to it, or is it like you will be like in trouble if you're fishing a kayak tournament like at this bridge here?
So I've been there quite a few times. I've never seen any game wardens, fish wardens, or anything, but I've heard that they will. I've heard that they will sit there right at the west bank of the dam, and they'll just watch, and they'll wait for people to go too close. So yes, you will get fined. I don't go close enough to get fined, and I've never seen them there. But yeah, you definitely stay further than 100 feet away.
Gotcha. Okay, well that's good to know.
I was fishing a tournament there last year a little bit, and there was a guy who was, I kid you not, like 15 feet away from it. And I was yelling at him, telling him to turn around and go back. And he completely ignored me. I got videos of it, sent it to the tournament director, and I was like, can you figure out who this is? And maybe give them a call. And he's like, no, I there's no way for me to figure out who it is. And I was like, this guy's going to die, and I'm going to be the only one that's capable of saving him.
Yeah, and then you have to stop your tournament that you're probably winning. It's a whole ordeal. Oh, man. Yeah, there was somebody that just died, too, in a kayaking accident on the Shenandoah River a little while ago. And I had Travis Eden on, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. He's a guide on the Shenandoah, and he does raft trips. And he's pulled out dead bodies before. He has saved somebody on the river. And he said it's deceptive that he says one of the most dangerous times he thinks is the spring, which was crazy to me. But his thought is like, if it's dead nuts winter, the only people who are out there are the people that know and are equipped for it. In the spring, you get these 80-degree days, and so you don't dress appropriately. And if you go in the drink, that water's still freaking cold.
Yeah, you get cold really quick. I believe that one. We have dead bodies wash up in the Susquehanna all the time. I mean, it almost seems like it's like every other week you see a news article, and half of them are like suicides or murders or boating accidents involving alcohol. Very few of them are like experienced fishermen, but it's usually like the pleasure kayakers.
Exactly. And that's a frustration thing too with lakes around here, whether it's Pennsylvania, Maryland, or Virginia, because they'll put in like, okay, like from October to April, no one's allowed to fish. No one's allowed to be on the water. But it's like the people that are dying is Sarah and Debbie, and they're going to be on a paddleboard, and they won't be out there at that time of year. It's just anglers and hunters, and they usually aren't going to be the issue.
Yep, exactly. He's making another appearance. This is
Hi, beautiful.
my dog Millie. She wants attention, so she's gonna sit right by my side the whole time we do this.
Yeah, she will probably be on the thumbnail because that's the stuff that gets you good ratings is good dogs like that.
If you scroll back in my Instagram, you'll see I have a few pictures of me holding Big Bass and Muskie while she's sitting on my kayak as a puppy.
Aww. How much did she weigh back then?
Oh, like 25, maybe
Oh
30
god.
pounds.
They're freaking adorable, dude.
Yeah.
Absolutely adorable.
She's a
What
ball of energy.
what do you say?
She's a ball of energy.
They're Goldens, man. I have had a Golden before and they're perfect. They really are good dogs.
They really are. She's sniffing my glide baits that I have hanging up here.
So, what is the glide bait situation that you have? Are you part owner of the glide baits or are you a friend with the guy? Like, what is your relationship?
So last year sometime, I started really posting a lot of glide bait fish. I actually got a 2-year Snapchat memory like 2 days ago, and it was my first glide bait fish ever. So I've been doing it for exactly 2 years as of this week. It seems like I've been doing it for like 10 years, but 2 years as of this week. And I started posting them a lot, and I had people reach out to me, and Chum Glides he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, do you want to fish one of my baits?" And I said, "Heck yeah." And at that point, I'd never been sent anything like free that was that expensive. And I didn't think he was sending it to me for free. And then he was just like, "Oh, what's your address?" And he sent one over. And I fell in love with it. I was like, dude, this glide bait is awesome. He has a good, it doesn't roll in current like other glide baits will. He has great paint jobs, and the smallies around here just love it. So now we've kind of worked a partnership together, and he will send me some baits, which here I can show him. I have 2 of them here. They are all beaten up because they've seen quite a few fish.
How it's kind of hard, and this is the one thing, dude. That thing's gotten beat to hell. Good
Yeah.
lord!
It's seen a few bass and a few muskie, and it survived it. Tell a story about it.
What size are those? Are they 7, 6s?
They're 7.5 inches.
Damn, for smallmouth. Wow.
Yeah, I've gotten bitten on 10-inch glide baits. I mean, I don't think there's a bait that's too big. I think smallmouth will eat. Usually, the rule of thumb is something that's exactly half their size at biggest. So a 20-incher will eat a 10-inch glide bait.
Dude, it's crazy because I wonder if that is, and people, when this episode drops, you can let me know in the comment section if that's a very Susquehanna basin thing. And we'll throw the Juniata in there as well, because it's like I don't know if that bite works on every single river or if it's just because of something in the water there that they're willing to attack those size baits. It's interesting.
I have no clue. I mean, have you ever fished a Susquehanna before?
I knew. What? No, 2 hours. That's it. So that doesn't count.
You gotta get up here. I'll put you on some fish. I'll even tow you around in my kayak if you don't have a motor.
Well, luckily I do have a Torpedo. I have the smaller version, which I would really like to upgrade to the newer one they have, but I just don't know how fast I'll be able to get it with the supply chains the way they are.
Yeah, that and Tariffs. We could go down a whole rabbit hole.
Oh my god.
That, but yeah, I don't know. They're really opportunistic feeders here, and they'll eat big baits all year round. I just don't choose to throw them in the summer months too much. But spring and fall is just, it's lights out. It's the best way to catch your best.
What was the biggest mistake that you would tell your past self about swim baits to not make?
I used to be a believer that there is only one speed of retrieve that the smallmouth would like, and they wouldn't eat it on a pause, because I thought that they needed it moving the whole time. Because I had 3 or 4 situations where they would follow it the whole way up to the kayak. I would pause it and let it sink, and they would turn around and swim away. So I was just like, okay, check mark. They need the bait moving at all times, and the second you stop it, you're not getting that fish. But with this year, I did a lot of glide bait fishing in March when the water was a little colder, and I kind of realized that I need to play out the fish. I need to figure out the speed that they want it, and I need to continue at that speed all day, because I was doing some very long pauses and they were biting it. I was chopping as fast as I can and they were biting it. It all depends on the day and the conditions.
Did you evolve your setup as you progressed from, I guess, day one till now? Or are you using the same setup?
Yeah, I was up until about Sunday when I broke my glide bait rod.
Oh, that's the best transition ever to what happened then, because we could probably get into that since you're blowing up social media with it.
Yeah, I've recently, so I went completely overkill since I do a lot of fishing around musky in certain areas. I was rocking 25-pound fluorocarbon, which I know you don't need that much, and I bumped it down this year to 20. And I started using a snap swivel little clip thing. It's just something that I think gives it a little bit more action. It allows you to change baits out quicker. It's kind of easier to retie it on instead of retying a giant bait. So I'm using a snap swivel now and 20-pound test instead of 25-pound.
That's probably the smarter thing to do, honestly. I mean, what are the disadvantages when you're talking swim baits? It is heavier tackle to begin with. About going up like you are, like, wouldn't that be a safe bet just to start out there in a perfect world?
It is, and there's a lot of scenarios where 25 will be better than 20. If you're really going to try to work a bait slow and you want the ultimate slow retrieve where that bait's going to hover, then the thicker your line is, the slower it's going to sink. But I think 20 is everything you need. I mean, I have a rod that's rated for up to 4 ounces, which I think is the sweet spot. You don't need those 5, 6, 7, 8 big broomstick rods because we're not catching 8-pound largemouth. And that 20-pound test, I jack it as hard as I can, and it'll never snap. You got to retie though. That's one of my biggest tips. You got to retie because if you're making the right cast, it means you're probably getting stuck in tree limbs. You're probably, your line is touching things all the time, whether you believe it or not, and it makes the tiniest little nicks. And when you send that 8-foot rod and set it as hard as you can, if there's any kind of nicks in your line, you're going to find out pretty quick and your bait's gone. And it's happened to me quite a few times until I learned my lesson. So let's just call it, I don't know. If I do a full 8-hour day of fishing, I'll retie probably 4 or 5 times.
That's smart. It's a good habit to get into. It really is. It's such a, I mean, if you're going to talk about devils in the details to where if you want to do one thing that'll immediately make you a better tournament angler, boat, kayak, bank, doesn't matter. Every time you catch a fish, get into the habit like you have Down syndrome of just cut, retie, because I bet your ass that you're going to catch one and then the next time you're going to set the hook and you're going to break off because it will happen. And I've seen it. It's happened to me personally a couple of times. One of it was from a kayak where I didn't check my swim jig. Should have checked it and I didn't. And then at the very end of the cast, set the hook and snap. So.
And the worst part is going home to your wife. She's like, "I was fishing." You're like, "Well, I caught this many and I caught all these big ones, but I broke my rod and I cast it off my glide bait. So I'm going to go spend $300."
Yes, and that facts. Way more expensive than a swim jig. And depending on what rod and swim bait you're throwing, that might be a mortgage payment.
Exactly. But yeah, I was rocking a 7'11" Daiwa Rebellion. It was like a heavy fast. And I know moderate fast is probably the best option for glide baits, but I started with a fast action rod and it's worked for me, so I stick with it.
Do you do anything? This is something I've been thinking about for specifically kayak fishing, is a lot of rods come with this really long ass butt. And in a boat situation, it's not a big deal, especially with like my old swim bait rod. It wasn't a big deal. But when I got in a kayak, I really felt like it just was too much handle to deal with.
Yeah, you literally go to set the hook on some of those rods and like the butt is just going everywhere that you don't want it to go. And you're getting like bruises in the side of your ribs. Yeah, those long butt rods, they're not for kayakers. Not by any means.
I wonder if we're going to start seeing more kayak-centric rods being made. If that's going to become more accepted for all the brands.
I know that there's a brand called Yak Rods. I don't know much about them other than they make rods that they market for kayaks only, and I know each one of them has like a little tether at the end of the butt. So if you were to like drop your rod, it would just stay attached to you or whatever you attach it to. But I think that would kind of get annoying after a while. It would get tangled up in my life vest or whatever.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's coming though. I mean, in the next couple of years, I wouldn't be shocked if you saw Shimano, Loomis, Daiwa, things like that start having kayak specific. It's growing. It really is. We talk about the tariffs and inflation, and some of this stuff has been mentioned before on different shows ad nauseum. Kayaking is going to continue to grow. I really do. And I think that's the first sign is when you see forward facing sonar baits, you see all those big things there. But when they start making kayak specific stuff, that's when I think you're going to know that this is starting to take over more and more of the bass market.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a market in for the kayaks. I mean, you see the guys, I think the fishing industry is kind of hurting right now with these forward-facing sonar baits because you see the pros, and that's like all they're catching fish with, these little tiny minnows that they're jigging. And those guys are, like anyone watching that's going to go out and buy those baits. So how many packs of those silly little minnows do you really actually need? You're not on spending $300 on chatterbaits and crankbaits and swim baits because the pros aren't using it. People are very highly influenced by the pros, and I think it's kind of hurting the sales in fishing, just in my personal opinion.
And it's also this is my hypothesis too, is it's where you're marketing. If you're going to fish the Susquehanna River, you're not probably going to win on a 3/8 ounce jigging minnow in the summertime. You're not. And so if you have these tournaments where they're going to be more, they're going to lean more towards the jigging minnow forward facing sonar thing. Yeah, you're going to be promoting that product. And I think kayaking, the more that grows, you're going to have more people winning shallow. And I don't know, it's fascinating because people get so upset about, well, the sales of jigging minnows are up. It's like, yeah, but look at where they were fishing and when. Like, I mean, he just won on Welcher won at the Indian name, my God, Albemarle Sound, because I forget, Pascatank River, I think it is. I can say that, but not Juniata. God damn it. There we go. See, I almost made it through a whole show, everybody.
You did it.
Almost.
Strike right there.
Yeah, one strike right there. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. But yeah, he won on a stupid flipping bait, basically. Now, he was using sonar, but it was something a little bit different. If they go to the Mississippi River, bet your ass a frog is going to be in the top 5. So if they would put tournaments at different times of year at different places, you could probably promote different baits, I would imagine. So, I don't know.
I think we need to do a segue back to my rod breaking.
Yeah, go for it.
Everything went wrong in a 5-minute time span that could possibly go wrong. Water temps were like 50, so like they weren't cold where you're going to die. I casted my glide bait out. It got stuck, and I motored over to it, and it stuck about 3 feet down. And I can see what it's stuck in, and it's a freaking recliner. Like, someone threw a chair, the whole recliner chair. I'm like, okay, great. It's literally in the fabric. And when you get hooks in the fabric, you're not getting it out unless you rip or cut. So I was like, I think I might be able to reach it. So I put my anchor down, and the anchor wouldn't hold. So I saw this like downed tree that was like 5 feet away from my stuck bait. And I anchored at this downed tree, and it held. And then my kayak was like right over top of the bait. And I was like, okay, here we go. I tried reaching down. I couldn't get it. And then I tried laying down on my kayak, like perpendicular, like a cross. Like my kayak's going one way and I'm going the other way. And I'm reaching down as far as I can, leaning off to the side of my kayak. And I just was barely able to grab the tail of the bait. And it wasn't enough to really rip and pull. And I was trying so hard. I was saying every curse word in the book you could only imagine. But I was like, okay, well, this is dumb. And this was also like 8 a.m. So it was the coldest point of the morning of my fishing trip. It was a little chilly. And so I let my anchor line out. I'm like, I'm going to go to shallow water and see how close I can get to it walking. And maybe I'll just walk up to my chest and somehow grab it. I'd be going under completely to get this bait, and I was willing to do it. It was only a Chad Shad, so it was only a $60 bait, not
that's not bad at all.
Not a $150 bait. But when you can look down in the water and see it, you're like, I'm going to get that damn thing. So I start walking in, and I'm like waist deep, and I'm like, dude, this is cold. Like I can't feel my leg, and I still have to go up to my chest. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I thought of a genius idea to try to like pull my anchor. So yeah, did I tell you my anchor is now stuck? My anchor is
Oh,
yeah.
okay. That's good.
My anchor is stuck. My Chad shad is stuck. And the only way I can do this is if I go back to shallow water, get out of my kayak, and I tried to reverse the angle that the anchor came in. So I was pulling real hard, and it started to come loose. And keep in mind, my rod is sitting in the rod holder behind me in my crate, and I had the line like clicked so it wouldn't just peel all the line out of my reel in the current. And as I'm pulling harder and harder, it's starting to move this anchor free, and I pulled real hard. I didn't realize that behind me, every time I moved this anchor a foot, it was bending my rod a foot.
Oh God.
So I literally pulled my kayak until the point where I heard a snap behind me and broke right at the handle. And I was like, well, that was
Dude.
dumb. And while that happened, in the process of my rod snapping, the line also snapped. So now my bait is stuck in the couch, my rod is snapped, and the only thing I have is my stupid anchor, which I actually somehow lost later in the day. It was a bad 5 minutes.
We should also probably what happened that day? What major event with fishing? Because was this the day that you had your 99 inches?
It was my best day ever for numbers. It was my best day ever for size, and it was my best day ever for making expensive mistakes. And
was that at the end of the day?
No, that was the beginning of the day. This all happened in the first hour when it was kind of chilly. So I had like a lighter rod that I threw my glide bait on the rest of the day, and it kind of worked. But it's just it's funny because that was the first time I've ever taken a banana on my kayak. You know what they say? Don't bring a banana on the boat because it's bad luck. I was like, dude, I don't have any food. I just got a banana. I was like, I wonder if it's good luck or bad luck. So, in your opinion, was it good luck or bad luck? A little bit of both.
I think it was good luck. It's almost like you had to pay the gods. You know, I mean, let's rephrase it. Before that day, if you had to give up a glide bait rod and a glide bait for 99 inches, would you do it?
Probably, but I don't know how many times I would do it before I'd be done with it. Just one time, yeah, I'd definitely do it.
When did things actually start like coming together that day?
So I checked water temperatures in the morning when I first got in, which was like at first light, and it was 54.5. And I was like, okay, it's warm enough for them to chase baits. It's not really warm, and I don't think they're going to be spawning it, which everything that I thought was almost true. I started off throwing a mag draft, and I didn't get anything. And I knew the fish were stacked in there because, social media is blowing up, and you just know certain spots. And you know when the fish hit the creeks. I was up in a tributary. So I didn't get anything on that glide bait. I mean, in the mag draft in the first 10 minutes, I knew something was up, and I switched to the glide bait, worked it a little bit slower. And the first 10 casts, I had 3 follows. I was like, okay, I'm starting to figure something out. The fish are here, but they don't want something on a steady retrieve that's faster. And I was realizing that these fish that were following were just 15, 16 inchers that didn't want to commit to it. And I was like, I'm going to lock it in my hand for the next half hour and see what happens. And shortly after that, I caught a 19 3/4, and then I caught a 19 1/2. And I was like, all right, this is the deal. So I threw that glide bait for the next probably 4 hours, and I had, counting each of my fish, I had 30 fish on the glide bait, and I had 94 inches in the first 3 hours, just throwing the glide bait, 30 fish. It was fun. But I covered about 2 miles of creek, the 2 miles that I'm familiar with, and I turned around and then fished it on the way back with different bait. And I was like, all right, I'll go for numbers now that I already had a really good day for size, and I got some good content for Instagram, good pictures and everything. I'm going to go for numbers now. So I started throwing a Ned rig around, and I got one. Yeah, I know.
That's extreme.
Me and spinning rods don't really get along. I don't throw them too often. People that know me laugh when I hold a spinning rod in my hand, but I started catching them here and there, and one of the holes where I kind of caught like 3 or 4 fish on a glide bait, I started throwing this Ned rig in here, and I was just like, I was waiting. The kayak was tied to me, and it was literally every single cast. I was just like, boom, 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 boom. And they were all 14 to 17 and a half inches. And I was like, I'm going to see how many fish I can catch. And I was at like 50 fish at that point. And it was every single cast. I was like, I'm going to live stream on Instagram for the first time ever. So I just hooked my phone up to the charger. I could charge my phone on my kayak. I put it in the little phone holder, and I live streamed for the next like 2 hours sitting in this hole. I was just throwing bottom bouncing baits, and it was every cast or every other cast for 2.5 hours. It was crazy. I worked my way up to 99 fish in this one hole. And I said, I'm going to go throw the glide bait for the rest of the day, leave the hole, and try to catch 100 inches and 100 fish. And I couldn't make the dream come true. I only got 99.5 inches, but I was able to upgrade a few more times. And then the last hour of light, I went back to that hole where I had caught 60, 70 fish, and I caught another 20. So I caught 90 fish in one hole. It was about a 70-yard stretch of creek that was just, you could just tell it was good. It was different than everything else.
Were you alone, or were you sharing the areas?
I saw one drift boat go down through, and then around noon, I saw some bank fishermen, probably 4 or 5 of them, but they were fishing only like 2 or 3 holes. So all the fish that I wanted to cast, that I was not competing with anyone.
Dude, that's impressive right there, that you're able to get something like that to yourself this time of year when everybody and their brother is going to be heading to the creeks.
Yeah, and it was crazy, dude. I was catching them every cast. I went 14 casts in a row while live streaming, catching fish, and then it kind of slowed down a little. And like, you just, after you do this enough, you kind of have the senses, and you kind of know how to get the big bites when things slow down. So I told the guys on Instagram, I said, when the bite slows down, you're throwing a Ned rig, switch to a sleeper crawl. So I switched to a sleeper crawl, and my first cast, I caught a 20-incher. It was just crazy that I called that out, and it was amazing, but I wish I had that video saved.
When it's your time, it's your time. And I wonder if Instagram actually lets you save live streams. Huh.
I think I had the option to, but I didn't.
Because that's a freaking dagger.
They wanted me to like post it or something. I don't know. I couldn't just save it.
Dude, so how many fish did you end up catching in 12 hours or whatever it was?
119. And if I
Jesus.
The whole day, I could have easily cleared 150. I'm thinking maybe pushing 200.
What is harder to do? 99 inches or catching over 200 fish in a day?
99 inches, I'd say.
Really?
I've had, I don't know, actually. They're probably the same. I've had 3 99-inch days, and I've had 300 fish days. But usually I don't go for numbers, so I think maybe catching 100 fish is easier.
I've always found that a fascinating thing when Lucas won up at, it was Green Bay, Sturgeon Bay, the first time they went up there, and it was like he caught 400 fish in a day or some insane number like that. And they broke it down to like he was catching a fish every like a minute and a half. It was unhook, weigh, drop, throw your drop shot back in. It was stupid.
Wow.
And it wasn't, were they all big? No, but it was between 2 to 3 pounds, but you're watching this as it happens. And it's like, is this a glitch in the matrix because of it just going back and forth like that? And so it really did, like, having those Uber days like you did, like 200 fish, 300 fish, that's probably better for your social media, I think, than if you just caught 5 big ones. When you're just constantly wearing the hell out of them like that, that's got to be good for your Instagram.
Yeah, that, and if you did YouTube, you could really get a crazy clickbait title. But I'd love to do YouTube, but I just can't do it because I tournament fish, and I would give up everything that I've ever learned. And I would have people fishing the exact same little spots with the exact same baits as me, and I know it would piss me off. So I don't think I'm ever going to get into the YouTube game.
I'm happy to announce our next major club fishing tournament, the Spring Bass Bash, brought to you by the Basscast. The event is going to run from Saturday, April 26th through Sunday, June 15th at midnight. This is the biggest tournament I have done so far, with over 13 cash prizes. I'm giving away $500 to the first place in the largemouth division and the smallmouth division, $200 to second place in both divisions, $150 to third place in both divisions, and that's not all. I'm giving away a plaque from first all the way to fifth place in both divisions, and I also have Big Fish Awards. I am giving away $100 plus a plaque to the 3 largest largemouth caught during the event. I am giving away $100 plus a plaque to the largest smallmouth caught in Pennsylvania waters, the largest smallmouth caught in Maryland waters, and the largest smallmouth caught in Virginia waters. But that's not all. I am also doing a side quest challenge here. I'm giving away $100 plus a plaque to the largest snakehead caught, $100 plus a plaque to the largest bluegill or sunfish caught, $100 and a plaque to the largest rock bass caught, and $100 plus a plaque to the largest crappie caught. This is over $1,700 in cash prizes, and there's so much more. Go check it out. Registration will continue all the way through May. If you'd like to join the event, check the link in the episode description for more details. Look at the episode description down below, click on the link, and you can sign up down below. Thank you.
What's more important, to have a secret spot or a secret bait? You had to keep one and give up the other.
100% secret spots. I give away all on the Susquehanna. There are a bunch of them. I give away all the baits that I use. I let people know what I'm looking at. I literally explain the spots, but I will never show them the exact spot. I'll even tell people which boat ramp I fish from, because I don't care. I know that I have, I'm confident in my ability to catch fish better than other people that I'm surrounded by, and I don't think it hurts me too much doing that.
Why? Why is the spot the thing that you would keep and you'd give up a super secret bait? Is it mental? Is it a mental thing, or is it literally that important on the Susquehanna to have these sneaky places to go to?
Because that the fish on the Susquehanna are very patternable. If you catch one fish, you just look around and you look at the current, you look at the depth, you look at the vegetation that's nearby, you look at the bottom substrate, and literally you could never fish before in your entire life. And if I told you all 6 of those conditions, you could go around and you could find 10 really good big fish spots. But you have
That makes sense.
to be able to recognize the spot on the fly as you're covering water.
Interesting. I gotta think about that. That is an interesting one.
They're very patternable. I mean, you catch one big fish and a lot of the other ones are doing the exact same thing. Whether it's the front of an island, the back of an island, like a deeper little indent, or it's a shade line with wood and faster current hitting it. There's all sorts of little things. And if you catch one 19 plus inch fish, those are kind of like the kings of the river. They act different than 18s and 17s do. You catch 119, look at the surroundings, and you can really pattern them down pretty well.
When you mean pattern, I think a lot of people listening to this, they're thinking of the green ones, like at a Smith Mountain Lake, a Bugs Island. They move a lot. They're on this point, that point, the third dock in a cove.
Yeah.
The Susquehanna, is that what you mean when you say pattern? Is like these fish will migrate, or are you patterning like this is what the fish are doing in this section, this section, and this section? You can replicate it in different sections.
Yeah, they migrate big time with water levels. When it's coming up, when it's coming down, with a good rule of thumb is if the river is coming up, generally they're working their way towards the banks or the islands or the structure or wood. And as the river is coming down, they pull off of it. And if the river comes up enough, a lot of the fish go straight to the banks. And then once you get to the banks, then you have to look at water clarity, because one bank will always be cleaner or dirtier than the other bank because of just how many large tributaries there are to the river. That creeks will clear up faster, and then you have a mud line. So then the fish will sit on the mud line, they'll pull the bank onto the mud line. I like to call it preferred water clarity, because sometimes you can't catch a single fish in the clear water. You can't catch a single fish in the dirty water, but the second you get to that perfect mix and you catch that first big fish, you go directly straight up the river and you fish that preferred water clarity for the rest of the day, you'll hammer them.
That's crazy, man. Do you think the river's going to be fishing better or worse this year because of the cold winter we had?
Definitely better. I don't know. We had a lot of ice, and I'm talking a lot. We had 10-foot stacks of ice on the bank. You got to wonder, do smallmouth die because that ice hits them, or are they somehow all finding holes that are deep enough to avoid? I don't know, but I do know that the river is fishing somehow better than last year. Not necessarily numbers-wise, but size-wise, I think, because we've been hit with a lot of cold fronts. Like March, there was some really good days, but the majority of March was horrible. I mean, you live close by. We had 40, 50 mile an hour winds.
It sucked.
And it was every time you got to the weekend, which is the only days I ever fish, it's oh yeah, we got rain this day and a cold front. Or you can go with Sunday where there's 40 mile an hour winds. Pick your poison.
And it's interesting because the winter of 2024, so a year ago, it was hot as hell. And it will always live in my brain rent free that you had the Smith Mountain Lake events going on. I had an event at Lake Anna, and the fish were just wonky. The spawn was really vague. Some fish would be spawning, some weren't. This year, it just felt like everything was pent up. It's wanted to go shallow so freaking bad and wanted to spawn. What did you see with the spawn this year? Were fish hesitant? Or are they really trying to push up and do the deed?
They would push up, then pull back, and push up, then pull back. They were moving all over the place. And relatively speaking, this has been a lower water spring than normal. So the water's been clearer, and it's been a little bit harder to catch a lot of them. But there's just a lot of big fish. I finally saw my first spawning fish last evening on a creek.
Oh, wow.
So last weekend, I mean, it depends how far north or south you fish, because water temps an hour north for me, which I was last weekend, they were 54 and they probably ended around 58, which is just about what they need to maybe start spawning. They need that for a few days and no cold fronts to hit for them to really start spawning. But an hour south where I live, certain creeks were hitting 62, 63, 64, and I guarantee you they were spawning a week ago. So it all depends. But I saw my first spawning fish last evening in a creek.
That's crazy. And then, yeah, you had a big tournament that just went down as well, didn't you?
Yep, I took home first place on the Juniata. I had never fished the Juniata before this year.
How?
Dude, I don't know. I live 17 minutes away from the mouth of the Juniata.
Yeah, I mean, how is it you never even dabbled in that before you got super into tournaments and stuff? I mean, I know you haven't been, hardcore into it forever, but good Lord, man.
I don't know. I've just been so happy with all the spots found on the Susquehanna that I was like, why do I need this silly little Juniata River that's a fifth of the size? What's it matter? The fish are the same, and I thought that, but my goodness, that river fish is completely different from what I was experiencing on the Susquehanna in March. The Juniata is just all right, you're gonna have a set of 5 ledges that could kill you if you go over them, and then we're gonna have a mile of deep water, which you don't really see on Susquehanna. Deep water, it doesn't really exist. And then you're gonna have some more ledges on the Juniata, and then some more deep water. And I was like, okay, this is different. And there's no grass islands on the Juniata, and I was trying to figure the river out. I went every Saturday and every Sunday in March, regardless of the weather, even the 50 mile an hour wind days. I have videos of me going full throttle down the Juniata River, but the wind's blowing up the river and I'm barely moving, trying to go down the river. Yeah.
Good Lord, man.
It was scary. It wasn't safe. The water temps were cold and I didn't have a dry suit. Don't do as I do. But I spent all 4 weekends in March trying to prepare for this tournament. And the Juniata is weird. A lot of people fish the banks on the Susquehanna River. You fish the banks on the Juniata, and sometimes they're not good. So I would turn around and cast towards the middle and catch fish. And I was like, this is not something I'm used to, man. I got to figure these things out. And I didn't really have any good days up until the weekend before the tournament. I was trying all sorts of different boat ramps. I mean, I could barely catch 5 fish. And I don't even know if all 5 of them would count in a tournament. They were small ones, and I would catch maybe one decent one every time I went out. And I didn't really have much confidence, but we had a nice warming trend the week before the tournament, and I knew that it was possibly going to have fish starting to think about spawning or staging at least. So I thought to myself, all right, where would the first spawning fish go? So I scrolled on Google Maps and I found the largest tributary to the Juniata River, which is the Tuscarora Creek. And I then decided I was going to fish a tournament somewhere around there. And the weekend before, I found a staging area that was a few hundred yards down below the mouth. And it was just like fish after fish after fish after fish. And I was like, okay, I got something figured out. Then I went up to the creek mouth and I didn't catch anything. So I was like, okay, so it's not really happening yet. And I went up into the creek and I didn't catch anything. So I was just trying to figure out, okay, maybe a third of the fish are staging and 2/3 of the fish are still in winter holes. And I knew that it was going to change that week because we had yet another week of warming trend. So I didn't really know how much it was going to change. And I knew they were calling for rain. We were looking at the predicted weather, and the river was supposed to come up like 4 or 5 feet or something crazy. And they were talking about canceling the event, but the prediction got slowed and we only had a 1-foot rise during the tournament. But I took advantage of a staging area and I rotated between a few spots all day long, and it would just continue to reload with fish.
How much time, if you say you're rotating spots, is it like a 5-minute drive between spots? Are you within eye distance of every spot, or are you really making a long haul?
I was making like half-mile runs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I now have 3 torpedo batteries. So
that makes life better.
I can outrun anyone on this river. I mean, I could go full throttle all day long for all 8 hours and never have to worry. And I know my torpedo can go a little bit faster than a Newport. So I know I'm going to get there faster than people, and I know I'm not going to have to worry about battery life. But the start of the tournament was kind of weird. We had a 15-minute period of time where we could get to where we wanted to fish before first cast. And my first cast was only 100 yards above the boat ramp. And all of a sudden, so I launched with 8 other people, and there was 35, 40 people in this tournament. So I was like, holy crap, literally a quarter of the entire field is at one boat ramp. I said, this is going to be tough. But I found out that half of those people were doing a float, so they went downstream, and I wanted to go up. So I wasn't too worried then. But I got to my spot in a minute, and all 4 of these other people fishing with me all start going ahead of me. And I started to worry because I like to be ahead of everyone in a tournament. I like to get upstream and get to the fish first. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to stick to my plan. I was going to throw a mag draft because I was in a different stretch of river the day before, and they were just hammering the mag draft. I was catching good fish, the right fish. So I was like, I'm going to stick with a mag draft. I looked around the guys that were fishing near me, and none of them had one tied on. So I was like, okay, you want to throw your Ned rig in there, I'll throw my mag draft behind you, and I'll clean up the big fish. And that's what happened. Everyone was catching fish. My second cast of the tournament, I caught, an 18 3/4 incher, and I was like, okay, this is going to be all right. And to my surprise, the people fished really slowly. So I ended up passing them all about an hour into the tournament before I got to the staging spot. And I got to that staging spot, and it was every cast I was catching a fish. I probably caught 15 fish in there. And I was rotating between mag draft freestyle. Since the water was a little stained, I was using the bone-colored one or whatever they want to call it. And I was rotating between that and a 6-inch bull shad, the fast-sinking version. They really wanted to chase baits that morning. Like, they really, really wanted to move for them.
It's an interesting choice going with that version of the Maggie without the treble hook. Is there a reason because of vegetation or whatever? Because your hookup percentages will decrease when you go to that style.
It will. You give a little bit of the fish up, but the reason I go to that is because it has that weight, and it is weedless, essentially. You can reel it, I don't want to say twice as fast, but you can reel it like 1.5 times faster than a normal mag draft before it blows out. and I'm trying to cover water like a guy on crack. So I need to reel that thing fast. And that's exactly what I did. I covered water really, really fast because those fish, they seem to be really spread out. You had to cover a lot of water to find one big one, and that's what I did.
How many fish were in areas compared to like the Susky? Did you have massive schools that you were finding, or was it like a couple here, a couple there?
I would have told you a different answer had I not been there the evening before the tournament. There was a massive bug hatch, and I'm talking massive. I don't know what kind it was, and all of a sudden I was looking around. Keep in mind, this is April 4th, like beginning of April. Water temps are still in the 50s, and there are fish everywhere the eye can see hitting top water, and I'm talking thousands of them. Like, it's not one or two fish here. They're literally eating these bugs 3 feet from my kayak. I wish I had that gizmo lure. I wish I brought it along. I wish I would throw a Ned rig at them and they wouldn't touch it, dude. I couldn't catch a single one of those fish that were hitting top water. And it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. It was everywhere you could look, there was at least 10 top water hits going on at the same time.
Mm.
So if you would have asked me that question before that night, I would have said that there weren't that many stacked up. But after seeing that, I don't even want to know how many thousands of fish were in the area that I was at. And it wasn't just the area that I was at, because I left. We were supposed to be off the water by 5 p.m. So I was driving home at 5 and it was still light out. I was driving alongside the Juniata on the highway going 60 miles an hour, and I could look down the hill and see fish still hitting in the river my entire drive the whole way back home.
That's where fly fishermen have such a great leg up on everyone else when it comes to river smallmouth, is when they get dialed into the mayfly hatch, the hatch that you had, hellgrammites, anything tiny like that, dude, they won't hit anything else. I mean, it's crazy how they will, elephants will eat peanuts, in smallmouth, it's 100% that way. The biggest fish will be eating the smallest thing if that's what's hatching at the time.
Yeah. And I was kind of worried that maybe the fish were going to be full the next day on tournament day, and the bite wasn't going to be on, but I don't know. It was still on. The river came up about a foot overnight, and it was going to come up another foot during tournament day, and it was starting to get a little bit, not muddy, but just like stained or slightly stained. It was that perfect springtime color you want in a river. The conditions were just perfect.
With that bug bite happening the day before, did you think about altering your decisions at all going to the tournament, about going away from the big swim bait kind of thing and trying to go to the itsy bitsy top waters and try to find one at home?
I don't think so. I knew that. I actually didn't even bring the gizmo out with me the next morning. Like, I didn't even have it tied on. It wasn't. I had my game plan and I was pretty much sticking to it. But after the fact, now I found out that the lunker of the tournament, which was like 20 and a half or something like that, was actually caught on a whopper plopper. And I've never in my entire life thrown a whopper plopper in the month of April.
I really want to get a custom like trout fishing rod, one of those super medium light 8-footers, to see if I could somehow work some of those flies. Because again, if there was a way, or fly rod tournament, if there was a way to get that working, I know the gizmo and there's other things like that too, but if you could somehow get those type of flies and cast them with bass equipment, it would be such a secret deal those times of year. Because I would have been. What?
It really would. I mean, when they want that certain bug, they're not eating anything else. And you could win any tournament based off of what I saw throwing a bug lure if you matched what they were eating.
When I had a friend, when we were doing a float trip, the smallest thing I had was the megabass popper. Mm-hmm. And it was it like June, late June, super crisp evening, and they were all on the surface. And he caught like 3 to my 1, and he had a fly rod in the front of the raft, and I threw a freaking popper behind him all day, could not get sniffed. But you that fly hits the water, boom, and they were good ones, and it just blew my mind. It's like, how the hell can they get that dialed in to where if it's not matching that, they're not taking a hit at it? That's always so cool to me that they can get that dialed.
I don't know, man. For those fish having a brain the size of a pea,
I know.
They are so smart and so dumb at the same time. It's so hard to, like, are they actually smart? Are they actually dumb? I don't know, but it's fun to figure them out. That's why we do it, right?
That is why we do it. And when it came to that tournament, was there a time during the day that you felt like you had something going on?
Yeah, honestly, that second cast, dude, it was from the first minute of the tournament. The second cast, I had an 18 3/4, and I was continuing to catch fish on the bank behind 3 different fishermen. And I was just like, I'm not even going to worry about these people. That pressure is not going to bother me today, even though it normally does. I was throwing a completely different bait than them. So, in my opinion, I was completely targeting different fish than them, different caliber fish. And I was watching the fish that they were reeling in on their Ned rigs, and they were all 13, 14, 15 inches. They may have caught more fish than me, but that doesn't really matter in a tournament.
No, that makes sense.
But as that water was rising, I kind of had an idea. I was at 94 inches, and I had a 2-inch lead, and I was looking at the fish that other people were catching, and I was thinking, okay, if this guy caught a 20-incher, he still wouldn't even catch up to me. So I was pretty much, I had it figured out that I was probably going to win, but you can never be too sure. And I hit all my spots so many times, and I wasn't getting any big fish and any upgrades. So I had the crazy idea to run up this creek again, even though I was just there the day before and didn't catch any fish. I went up this creek about 1.5 miles. Keep in mind, every 100 yards, I'd have to get out and drag my kayak, and parts of it were really fast. And once I got up to the slower water, it was like fish after fish after fish. And I was thinking to myself, had I just spent the entire day in that creek, I could have won doing that too. But that's 2020 hindsight, and I won the way I wanted to. And I had a really good friend who was fishing in the tournament, and I kind of feel bad. I was like, dude, if I would have known it was going to be like this, you could have just gone up that creek all day long, and I could have fished my spots, and we would have got first and second.
I mean, it like you said, hindsight is 2020, and it's interesting because it's a combination of confidence and I don't even know how to put it when you get into tournaments. You want to throw your confidence baits, and you want to be able to stick to your plan, but then there's always a thing in the back of your head of like, should I make adjustments or should I just be stubborn? And you stuck with your guns and it worked out. And like you found out later on, it's like, well, if I did make these changes, I could have done even better potentially. I don't know. It's so fascinating.
It is. I tend to stick with my guns. I like to do a lot of pre-fishing before tournaments, like the weekend before and sometimes the day before. But I don't go to my boat ramp the day before. I don't want to stick my fish that I'm trying to catch the next day. I'll go stick someone else's fish for fun. So I really try to figure out that bite the day before. And I don't always have like a set stone, okay, I'm going to throw this the whole day. I mean, I come with 6 or 7 rods. But it gives you a better idea of what's kind of going on if you're there the day or two before, assuming that, a cold front doesn't come or a huge rise doesn't come and it muddies up. But
when it comes to picking the right creek, does size matter at all?
Oh, yeah. The larger the creek, the more amount of fish run up it to spawn. So, I mean, I just looked on Google Maps. I was like, all right, never fished this river before. Go up to the biggest creek, and because creeks warm up a little bit faster than the rivers, that's why they run up the creeks. They can spawn a week or 2 or even 3 weeks before in the creeks than they can in the main river. That's the only reason they usually go up those creeks.
What would you say the definition of a creek is versus a tributary? So,
they're the same, in my opinion. That's sorry. I like to use those words interchangeably.
No, because it's like the Juniata is actually a tributary or creek of the Susquehanna. Sure. So you could even say you could run up that if you're a jet boater, but then I'm thinking more of creeks. I don't even know. Conococheague Creek. I don't even know if you got that up near you, but like some of these, you could throw a baseball across it, I guess.
This creek was 15 yards wide.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that makes sense.
It is definitely a creek. It wasn't. I know in Pennsylvania we have like 1 million creeks and rivers, and sometimes we call things creeks that aren't creeks and rivers that aren't rivers, and you know how it goes. But some of our creeks are bigger than other states' biggest river.
Yep. That's what I was getting at, because like the Upper Potomac, the Shenandoah, they got tributaries, but they're not like the Susquehanna with how much drainage. Because when you guys say like, yeah, we have a creek pattern, it's like, great, you have 185 creeks to pick from. We got maybe 2 or 3 in some sections. So again, it's the tournament strategy is just so much different, because where else can you do that and have so many different creeks to pick from?
You can't, man. That's why this is such a special place. If anyone watching has never fished Susquehanna,
Yeah.
it's worth any drive. It's worth any plane ticket. Book a guide trip, because I don't know. You want to have the best day you can. Book a guide, preferably my buddy Brandon Sandy, which you know him.
Mm-hmm.
And get on the river with a guide. You'll have the best day ever. It's fun. It is really fun. It's a special fishery. It's one of the only few places where you can, go and catch 100 fish or 100 inches in the same day. I mean, that doesn't really happen anywhere else.
If you had to pick between a tube and a Ned rig, which one would you pick?
Ned rig all day. That's not even a debate. I don't own a single tube anymore.
Damn, that's blasphemy to some old guys.
It is. I think the tube is a little old school. I think the hookup ratio is a little bit worse. I don't know. I'm not much of a finesse guy. You know that. But if I'm going finesse, it's going to be a Ned rig and a Ned rig only. Or if you want to call this finesse, a sleeper crawl. The sleeper crawl matches the crayfish in our river identically. So I like to throw the sleeper crawl and it gets bigger bites.
Do you throw the sleeper crawl in like a BFS setup or like a medium heavy bait caster? Like, what's your setup for that thing?
Medium heavy. It's about a 1/2 ounce bait, so I'm treating it as if it's like a 1/2 ounce jig, essentially thrown on a jig rod.
How snag resistant is that sucker when you're throwing it in all those riffles and rocks?
It's really, really snag resistant. That hook does not. The only issue with those things is just like the mag drafts, they have a lifespan. You catch a certain amount of fish on them, and all of a sudden, oh no, the fish bit the claw off. Now it's one claw. You can kind of catch fish with a one-clawed sleeper crawl, but it's not the same. It'll go down and it'll spin as it's really going down because it's not evenly distributed with plastic. And then after that, I mean, you lose a second crawl, and then you literally just have like a little turd look in there. And it doesn't work then anymore. But I don't know. I think I caught like 25 fish on it before it was toast.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
You think so?
I mean, I've beaten for mad drafts. I've beaten the crap out of them and gone through far less fish. So, and again, it's such a weird, guys, Yamamoto Cinco, if you're listening, how many does that frickering bait last for? 1, 2, and we still buy them in bulk. So yeah,
the fish will jump in the air and spit the same.
Gone.
Yeah.
It's like $7 a pack now for 5 of those stupid ass. Cocaine is probably cheaper than buying Yamamoto Cincos at this point.
That's the reason, literally, why I throw the freestyle mag draft as opposed to the treble hook one, because I'd say the lifespan is twice as many fish.
Oh, easily, dude. Yeah, and then apparently you can buy Mighty Mended or swim bait glue and try to put them back together. I used to use a lighter, but then I got friends told me to buy this glue. I think it's called Mighty Mended. Let me find that out.
Well, I gotta try that. I've never heard of that.
Yeah. Let's go swim bait. I was just thinking about ordering it. Swim bait glue. Mend it. All right, that's what it's called. Here you go, guys. Hey, it's beautiful. You're gonna be on the thumbnail. Here it is, guys. It's called. This is the mini Mendit soft bait, but it's called the Mendit soft bait glue. I wonder if you could just use super glue. Also works great for gluing and overcoating swim bait eyes. Mendit's perfectly repairs small plastic baits from oily hands poured tears. Interesting. $9. I have to give that a try. Might work better than super glue. Interesting. Dude.
Interesting. I gotta try that.
Yeah, because I'm always finding ways because I like to fish American trash fish a lot for largemouth in the early spring. It's uber soft, insanely soft bait. Really hard to get them. They're expensive as hell, but it's 1 or 2 fish and they get gashed because it's such a soft plastic. And so I used to use a heater and stuff. So
have you ever tried all the copies of the mag draft to see if they last longer? Because I haven't really done that much experimenting. I kind of stay loyal to Megabass.
Yeah, because, well, the problem is, let me see if I can. Oh, here's that one. Because the problem is, like, with mag drafts do, and it's the same thing that American trash fish has. I mean, you can tell, like, guys, if you're watching, like, that's how limp it is. The softer it is, the more action you get, but the more rigid the plastic, it's going to last longer, but it just looks like a dead body being dragged through the water. It's like that weird bait that the Googans made. Like, that thing I just did not like. I mean, I don't know what it was about it, but it just didn't move in the water the way I wanted to.
I don't know that. I stick with the mag draft. I'm gonna stay loyal to it because they're the OG creators, and I don't really like when companies go out and try to make money copying baits. And it's just kind of the reality of the fishing market nowadays because you can only make so many baits before you're out of ideas, right?
I mean, that's what American companies at this point are great at, is just copying whatever Japan like is successful. It's crazy how that works.
Japan really is leading the innovation of the fishing industry.
They are hands down with everything. Every big technique, generally speaking, comes out of Japan and gets moved over here now. I mean, it's hard pressed to think of one that you could say is genuine American at this point. I mean, glide baits was definitely California, that came from Japan.
Yep.
Drop shot, jerk bait, everything really just started out west and worked its way east.
Speaking of this, I'd love to hear what you think about the whole tariff things. Like,
Oh, okay, yeah.
you see these prices shoot up like in 2 weeks or something because thankfully I didn't even know about these tariffs a few months ago because no one did. And I don't know. I just had a goal that I wanted to stock up a 2 to 3 year supply of every bait that I like to throw. And I did that in January. So I don't care about tariffs for the fishing industry right now because they're not going to affect me. I have so many mag drafts, it's not even funny.
That's could be the best decision of your life, and you will be retiring soon from your day job because generically with the tariffs, and again, by the time this episode drops, guys, I know you're going to be in the comment section. This might be old information, so please, you don't have to comment if this is no longer the case. But with the tariff situation, a lot of companies just aren't buying. They're not going to buy stuff from China or any other country. And let's say the price is moved up to $20. So if they buy it for 20, but then in 3 months there's a deal struck, they can't sell it for 20 more. They have to sell it for 15 or 10. And if that's the case, they're like, well, screw it. We just won't buy anything now, and we'll just wait to see what happens. And there's two effects to that as we put the audience to sleep here. Part number one is there won't be anything in stock, so that will shoot prices up and create more inflation. But number two is, because there's going to be this backlog in the supply chain, it's like a clogged artery in a heart, which we saw during the year of the virus. It creates this blockage. And so even if tariffs get lifted, it's going to take time for all that stuff to trickle in. And then you have the price spiral where, okay, but then demand has shot up so much. How long does it take demand and supply to meet each other? And yeah, dude, I think it's going to get really gnarly. I think American Eagle fishing hooks, Eagle Claw, sorry, not the Gene Company, Eagle Claw, moving their factories to the United States specifically for this reason, to try to gear up manufacturing like ASAP. But a lot of companies, dude, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they have their products made in China, which I'm assuming most of them do.
It's not even if the product is made there. What if just a part of it? Let's say you assemble it here, but you have to buy stuff from them to put it together.
Yep. It's gonna get crazy here soon if we don't strike a deal. I don't know.
Do you remember when the John boats, like aluminum boats, like weren't around? Well, what happened during the virus thing is we bought most of our aluminum from Brazil. And so Whitewater Marine just stopped making John boats for a while. There's a year or two in there where it was really hard to find new John boats because they just stopped making them because there was a tariff on that. And so these little blips like this happen. And I don't know, man, it's going to be interesting. I wonder if that's why so many professional anglers right now are retiring.
It could be a reason. I don't know. There's a lot of drama in the fishing world right now. A lot of change is happening. I would love to a fast forward button just to see where the heck we're going to be in 5 years, even 2 years.
Yeah, I'm just hoping it's not a monopoly. That is the worst thing humanly possible, is to have just one tournament organization, just one bait company, one rod company, for God's sakes. But that's where it feels like everything is heading, which is terrifying.
Yeah, all these companies are buying each other out, and the kings are owning everything.
Yeah. And then you homogenize and you liquidize. That's what you do. And so you're not going to get a Aaron Martin Morning Dawn type of color, or there's not going to be a lot of difference between, I mean, what is really the difference between a Triton boat and a Ranger boat when they're owned and operated by the same company? Like it's just the logo.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't know. It's a scary time. It really is.
Yeah, hold on tight.
But on that depressing note, Jake, what do you have coming up that we can be promoting?
Well, we had a nice drop on chum glides. I don't have the bait, but it looks similar to this one. There was a drop about a week ago. I believe he still has a few baits. So if you're interested in a high-end glide bait that will catch a fish, especially on the Susquehanna River, check out Chum Glides because I support them, they support me, and they catch big fish. You can see I am wearing a Lake and Lure shirt here and a hat from them. They are an apparel company that has supported me for the last year. They make some awesome shirts, so give them a follow on Instagram, Lake and Lure. Tell them I sent you. If you go buy one of those glide baits, send it over to me. I'd love to know. I want to see fish pictures. If you catch fish on it, please do that. But other than that, I do not have any tournaments coming up until July. So I am on a nice, long, fun fishing stretch. I have a week-long trip planned to the St. Lawrence River in June.
Ooh.
So you're going to see some very big smallies that look a little different than the ones I catch in my river. Then, but yeah, the next few months are just going to be some fun fishing for me.
Dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. It's kind of weird not having that many tournaments this spring.
It is weird, and we have a closed season from like April to May or whatever in Susquehanna where you're just not allowed to have tournaments. It's like the second week of April to the end of May, I think it is. And then June just sucks in Susquehanna. It's not good. Post-spawn funk is real. So we don't really have tournaments in June, and it kicks off in July.
I don't think we mentioned this on air. What is the big tournament that's going to be happening this year? Because it's a unique situation.
The big one is kind of like 5 different tournaments in one day, which I don't like because if we get a massive flood, there goes your whole year of tournament fishing, and they cancel it and they can't reschedule. Like that just sucks. So the biggest one is going to be the Kayak Adventure Series. Drew Gregory runs that. I'm going to be fishing that, and alongside is the Native Power Hour that's hosted on the same day. Slay Nation, which is a local tournament trail, is going there that day. I think Keystone Bass Kayak Series is going to be there, which is an even smaller trail. And I think there's one more that I'm missing. But there's, I think, 5 tournaments going on that day. And don't quote me on this, but I think it's like August 9th. So it'll be a really, really fun tournament. Lots of top water hits. The only thing I'm just hoping for is that we don't get a flood because that's my whole year of tournament fishing right there.
That is an insane. There's going to be an insane amount of kayaks on the water.
Yeah. It might not be worse than the Bassmaster we had, though. There was like 224, and that was the worst I've ever seen it. I hope we don't get more than that because, dude, it's not fun sharing spots in the summertime with 11 other people at your boat ramp. It's not fun.
That's brutal. But yeah, it's such an interesting circumstance. Because then just like when it comes to like your tactics, like it is different when you're fishing a crowded event versus one where you get away. Just how you strategize, how you're going to dig into it. I mean, that's a whole other topic for another show about pressured water.
The Kayak Adventure Series, they do a really cool thing where it's not just the Susquehanna River that's inbounds. So they're hosting in Bloomsburg, which is I think like an hour and a half north from me. And their tournament boundaries are any public body of water that's within 1 hour of driving. So you can fish the lakes, you can fish creeks, you can fish the river. So there's a lot more water, but unfortunately, I think people are smarter than that. And on the Susquehanna River, you don't want to go anywhere other than the Susquehanna River on one of these tournaments. So it's going to be pretty crowded.
Well, we'll definitely be there to cover that as well. Jake, I mean, I really can't thank you enough for coming on, just shooting the breeze and talking about fishing. As always, we'll link in the episode description everything that we talked about. Go check out the swim baits. Go check out Brandon at his guide service as well. I'll put that in the episode description as well. And then if you guys want to, go follow me on Patreon. We have our brand new tournament that's just starting up here soon, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.